Hello and welcome back to Assembly 2014. I am Frankie still and always will be. And we have just been watching to the 4K competitions here in Mesarkeskus, Helsinki. And my royal couch has again 4 new friends. Well, 1 new and 3 old ones. One starting from my far right, we have Keen, we have Branch, Tesse, and we have Urs. Guys, say hello to yourself and to me. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Hello. So the 4K intro competition here. Let's start right off with the badge saying these were 1Ks with music.
I don't know. Most of them were actually 1Ks with better music. I would say there were a few ones that were multi-part. I would say in particular that we had one that really stood out as being a story 4K, which is maybe the first one I've ever seen. I'm not saying it was like the best of them by any means, but it was very unusual and stood out in that aspect.
When I was in the 1K compo studio, I said that I was very happy with the competition, but I wasn't happy with this competition because one of the reasons was the colors. There were a lot of coder colors, and one of the intros, I cannot remember which one, had plasma overlaid on top of another 3D object or something. And that was like, why?
It's probably the Commander Perlin, right? Yeah, that intro.
Yeah.
Because we actually discussed the lack of coder colors and we were happy without that.
Maybe the 1K compo starts to absorb all the skill of the 4K people, and now it's basically all the people that are good at size coding are going there. I don't know.
No, I mean, this is harsh, right? I mean, it wasn't a bad.
No, it wasn't. No,
I'd like to have Keen his opinion on the entire compo, and then of course not forgetting you had an entry in there. So
I liked the last 4 entries in 4K, and I liked 1K intro much more as it has more paper.
Okay, Keen, I have to ask you to speak a bit louder. I cannot hear you.
I can't hear you actually.
I can't hear you, so speak a bit louder.
Okay, I'll try to speak louder. I liked last 4 entries in 4K, and it's not the best which you can do with 4K. However, it was good enough for compo, and the best for me was the last one, and maybe mine. Because I liked mine because it was mine was with music a bit classical with 4K length synthesizer, and it has only 4 effects with changing.
What was the name?
Planet Honey.
It was Planet Honey, the 7th entry.
That was the kaleidoscope generally,
Yes.
right? With like 4 or 5 different kaleidoscopes.
Did I ask something about your production? I couldn't hear, but did you use Forklang?
Yes,
Did you use the preset samples, or did you make your own?
I usually use some presets and change them in the way I like. So
Okay.
I don't like the originals, so I just change to make it sounds a bit different from usual 4K length.
I usually hate when people have the same sample sets that the Forklang has, so that's kind of too lazy for me.
There were a few demos with like the same samples in Forklang,
Yeah.
and most of them are really, really heavy on bass. Now I was
Yeah,
sitting right
yeah.
in front there, but this was really the 4Ks of heavy bass.
So on that, overall,
I think it was okay. I don't think it was more than okay. There's no single entry in here that will change like my life the way Elevated did.
nothing jumps out. Okay, can we go through them from the start? I think we have the time for that to do that. The first one with. You can read Finnish way better than me, so please tell the name.
Epätoivoton teko sponsoritiskin nurkassa perjantai-iltana. I am not excellent in Finnish. I think it needs something like hopeless one
Yeah,
Friday
should-
evening.
Okay, let's try. Epätoivoinen teko sponsoristinkin nurkassa perjantai-iltana.
Which means, please, be nice, we're on TV.
Unfortunate thing in our sponsors corner during Friday evening.
Okay.
This was the Julia Morpher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it was basically compo filler, wasn't it?
It was a compo fillers with coder colors.
Yeah.
But it was a Linux entry. It was one of 3 non-Windows entries in the compo.
Finland, after all.
Well, there were 2 Linux entries and 1 FreeBSD, right?
Right. The second one was a stupid air rally.
I really liked that one, even though it was ugly. I mean, the colors were ugly. It had an amazing amount of actual 3D geometry and actual content, and was actually trying to tell a story of an air race. In the end, the execution wasn't that good, but I liked the fact that somebody tried this and actually went into the effort of modeling these airplanes in a 4K compatible format. So big up for that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's A for effort, right?
Yeah.
But I don't really like the execution. It has tons of coder colors.
Yeah.
It didn't have really good music. It had self-intersecting cubes that didn't work out. It had no ending. It was like, oops, we ran out of space. We'll just like throw something in there.
They didn't have no reason why the planes were made of particles. It didn't make any sense to me.
I noticed that they were all a bunch of dot, not really solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they should be commended, right? I mean, for trying something to break that limit.
Yes.
Yeah. I would like a playable version of this.
Yeah, as a game, this would be
As a game, it would be great.
Minus the coder colors.
Yeah.
Even with the coder colors, you know, it's in a car race, every color has them is there to be noticed. So then you're fine with coder colors, but it's just like I've written down F-Zero in 4K, but I want it to be playable.
Well, ID Racer, if anyone remembers it.
Yeah,
From 10
well,
years back.
so I suggest to Lucid that they upgrade it for the game dev compo next year and have a game in 4K. Very good. All right. Keen, do you have something on this entry?
Actually, this intro has no music. It has just the background sounds. So, however, I liked it. It looked like an old game. So, it looks like really old game. So for me, it's like just a game without sounds, without music. So.
Well, it did have music. It had some sort of rumble bass
Yes,
and rumble bass and
it's
strings.
just bass, but no music. So this is disadvantage of this intro for me.
Okay. Next one, Commander Perlin by Adapt.
I have written in my notes, I'm sure Stoned Finn would love this.
It was a lot of fire there, I think.
Well, it's
I mean, of all the more or less random ray marching demos, I think this one had the best colors and the most. I mean, it is basically a celebration of Perlin noise, but it is so in a good way.
Well, but again, the music again is just like rumble, rumble, rumble.
Maybe it was the hall because the sound might bounce around, so maybe it's better than we heard.
Maybe, but it didn't have a tune though.
No, it didn't.
so Urs, as the dedicated scientist here, Perlin noise.
Yes. This is well, what you basically see in that demo is all these noisy, cloudy things, and that is a function invented by a guy called Ken Perlin. So it's easy to evaluate in the shade, and it gives you something that looks like cloudfire noise or bubbles, depending on where you use it. And they're using it basically for everything, which is fine, which also works well, except that it's really overused. But well, I guess they use it with a good style.
One thing I've seen they're doing that not a lot of people are doing, I mean, Perlin noise is essentially a lot of different layers of noise added together, and they did some fading in and out of the different layers, which, okay, it's not that hard to do, but at least it's a bit new.
More on Commander Perlin with the Perlin noise, or shall we go to the next one, Beats in Motion number 4?
What is it?
You can start with Beats in Motion number 4 by Digimine and Silent.
It was by Digimine, wasn't it?
Yes.
Digimine and Silence.
Digimine
Yeah,
and Silent.
I really like the colors in both of the Digimine intros. I really like them, and this one had a pretty good tune too, but it shouldn't have these pillow shadings in it. I don't know how to exactly explain.
But it's smooth and nice. But they have only 2 things. Like they have circles and they have straight lines, but they're using both to pretty good effect.
Yeah.
And it's done tastefully.
So, Keen, can I have your input on this?
Actually, I thought it before, so maybe it's not polite to say about this.
Okay.
It has cool 2D stuff.
So-
maybe okay.
Okay, I'll pick up again because I have written down for this also coder colors. You haven't, because you like the colors.
But it really doesn't have them.
It had color gradients.
It has gradients. That's
Yeah.
the bad part. But the colors themselves are just fine. But if there wasn't any like gradient, then it would be a lot better actually.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
It felt for me like these colors weren't handpicked, but automatically chosen. But they did so in a very successful way. So maybe it's just luck, maybe it's skill. I don't know exactly the thing about people, but thumbs up for the colors.
For me, this is in top 3.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's something else. Because it's not ray marching.
It could easily actually be ray marching.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. Well,
But clever way much.
yeah. Right.
Well, clever ray marching, that smooth as anti-aliasing. It's pretty well done.
All right. Number 5, my first intro.
Oh, the crowd pleaser. The one that drew the most applause. A bunch of dots morphing around. They morphed the dots into a cube and the crowd went wild, right?
Yeah, it looked really nice, but it's usually a stupid complaint. But it shouldn't have a black background.
Well,
it
but
looks a bit dull in this.
If it really is the first intro of this guy, then I say thumbs up because that is really
absolutely.
awesome for a first
this
one.
Oh,
is
yeah.
really good for a first one.
There are
Really
some
good.
design decisions that can be forgiven for the
Yeah,
first one.
Yeah.
I would say the color scheme for one needs forgiveness.
Yeah, definitely.
What I like it here in this intro, it has good sync with sounds. So if you check, the music is very syncy with the graphics.
This was also the only one with text in it. They actually had a tiny scroller, which is actually a lot worse in 4K than people realize. You need to talk to fonts, you need to actually write something, it takes space.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it is. There are T-shirts around Save the Scroller.
Yeah.
I think this applies here.
I think in terms of like pure stuff in 4K, this is also among the top ones in the compo.
Yeah. I think this guy is, however, going to be very ashamed if he looks at that in 10 years or so for asking for a job in the 4K. Well, I mean, fair enough.
I'm happy to see more stuff from this guy or guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
By Mystran or Maestran.
Yeah, my
Definitely has some future in the scene.
Yes. So welcome. 6th one, whiskey in a tube.
Meta Seaman.
Yeah, I've been particles in a jar.
No, it was a FreeBSD intro. They used, they said something of Python something. I don't really know what they used it for. But they had basically one effect that was this sort of like metaball blob-like thing going from one side to the other, and they used it like 5 times.
I think it was marching cubes.
It's probably something like March Cubes, maybe on a GPU, who knows?
Yeah.
But it really looked like semen to me to begin with, not whiskey.
And it had really weird coding colors again.
Yeah, no, I think they did it again. They did it 5 times, but some of them were tasteful.
Okay.
When they started doing like silhouette things, for instance. But it is a single scene.
It's okay. So
Like this one, right?
This does not have a black background, but you have the same rotating things.
Yeah.
That's kind of similar vibe to the previous one.
Yeah.
Teal on orange.
Yeah.
Yeah, these colors are the green, blue. It's
Yeah, it's not perfect.
I don't know. Do you have any comments on this Keen?
Yes, I didn't like some mixing of colors in some scenes, but it's very interesting for me because it has good sounds and it's also very unusual for 4K.
What do you mean by good sound? It was a chip tune.
It's a bit chiptune, but I think it was made with fork length also. But in some
Yes,
parts
this is
with chip, with arpeggios in some parts. That's all. It's not like chiptune. It's like some arpeggios with in 4K.
I have to say that I'd be happy to see teal and orange, even if the coder doesn't know what colors he should use, or black and white. That's all fine too for me.
So those are the safe bets.
Yeah, but that's better than having like bright blue and bright red in the scene. That's not a good idea.
Yeah. Well, how about we start to call them debugging colors from now on, and no longer coding colors?
Well, it should be said though that being on FreeBSD, they have the disadvantage of not having crinkler. which means that essentially you get to fit like half the amount of stuff into your 4K compared to the Windows ones.
Well, you can still use these LZX headers that do compress pretty well.
Sure, but it still is a disadvantage.
Yeah, a bit.
Okay. Next up is Planet Honey, entry number 7 by Digimind and Keen. We already mentioned the kaleidoscope effect. Any other?
It really is a kaleidoscope
It
effect,
is,
right?
yeah.
I guess this is a ray marcher somehow.
Is it?
I don't know. I need to ask Coder. So I just did music.
Okay. Yeah, the music was great.
Yeah.
Thank-
Yeah,
thanks.
this is pretty good.
Thanks.
Another 4-time tune though, of course.
Very, very similar to your 1K, but in a good way.
Thanks.
I would also like for this to point out the cooler socks that Keen is wearing there. They're like the mandatory demo scene fashion
get that on camera,
accessory.
Okay.
So get them while you still can.
Socks. Oh.
Okay, I'll quickly skip to the next one, 8, and Neopterigi. When I'll have to say, Urs, they have been stealing your spike balls.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's not my spike ball. It's technically the one of Lars, but they have used the spike ball and they have combined it with horrible colors. So they started well and then they used horrible colors. So I'm torn. Anybody should use the spike ball, in my opinion.
This is a spike ball I've seen like 4 different 4Ks going on,
yeah.
but it was multi-part at least.
Yeah, it was multi-part.
Yeah,
It did have some development.
And it had quite a lot of content for 4K.
Yeah, that's true.
Not like huge amount, but pretty good.
Oh yeah, but still, this is not like in the top 3 for me. I think the previous one, the kaleidoscope one, is
Yeah,
probably in top
most
3 for me.
likely,
But
yeah.
this one, well, it has coder, but no direction.
Yeah.
Also, I think it had too much central.
I like the music in
And ugly
this one,
colors.
but I didn't
Well,
like
I
the rest.
also-
It looks boring for me. Sorry, that's my opinion. But the music was good enough for 4K. The rest is strange colors, no design idea. It's like just some representation of skills of coder. It's not all.
Well, it's I don't know about this one. There was potential, but somehow I missed the
Its
fulfillment.
main problem is that it's a bit ugly.
Oh, a bit. It's in the eye of the beholder, of course, but yes. Next one, Inside Ink Drops, entry number 9. This was colorful.
But it also it started off sort of nice, and then I don't know if they did it deliberately, but then things started going sour, right? They started messing things up, and you can mess things up in good ways and bad ways, and this didn't really work for me.
I think it tried to have dramatically. It had this very strange change in musical style from being very smooth to very dramatic and back. But I kind of didn't get it because the shaders stayed mostly similar, and it kind of didn't get very much atmosphere across.
Yeah. This was the one that had 2 effects on each other. This was some alpha tricks and so on. It doesn't really work if you have 2 effects on top of each other.
I think the Perlin one also had that, right?
Oh yeah, maybe yeah. But actually, it sometimes works, but you have to be very careful. I do remember that Sunflower did some of those things, but it worked really well.
Yes, it has really good jazzy tune, and yes, I don't like the layering of 2 effects together. So the layering should be done more carefully, as you said. And it has a lot of effects actually. So this is it was really challenging for create such big amount of effects for one 4K.
They also actually have a multi-part tune. I think that's the only one that actually has a real progression in their tune. And then I don't count like the messing up part of the tune as one part.
At the end, yeah.
Well, I've written down a WTF for the music.
Yeah, but I think it was intentional.
Because it was suddenly, the music was okay, and then in the middle it all went completely haywire and I don't know what.
It was changed. It changed very different. So it was just slow jazzy tune, and it become more techno in the middle.
I
It
think
was
that
really
part worked,
cool,
but then they
so-
switched back to the jazzy one, right? And then
Yes,
started
yes.
detuning everything. And
But it deserves some more points just for this change, because it's 2 tunes in one intro.
All right. So okay. Other comments on this entry, or we skip to the last one, Splash, by the unknown artists.
is Unknown Artist actually unknown?
It's
Oh, yeah,
says
I know.
It says on my paper. I don't know them. So,
I've heard of them. I'm pretty sure I've heard of them.
So this was the 4K that tries really hard to be like technically impressive, right?
It looked more or less like exactly this is how you do the array marching with all the standard techniques perfectly. It doesn't excel anyway, but it tries to do exactly that perfectly, and it does.
But no, it was not perfectly. There were a lot of aliasing effects in the reflection that were pretty ugly, actually.
Yeah.
And-
Nobody
and-
looks at reflections.
Well, they were showing them in your face, right?
but they're so shiny.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it tries very hard to be impressive, but it
and
fails
this
at
was-
entertaining.
yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah,
definitely
it is looking at the overall intro. If you look at, for my personal shiny level, I have this one, and I also have Planet Honey, where you can see like shiny little particles coming in, so that it gives some depth, not just flat surfaces with an effect. So I like shiny.
But shiny is cheap, right? There's a saying, if you cannot make it look good, make it look shiny.
That's what gets votes in the competition.
Well, maybe, but it's like the least original entry in there.
It was exactly. It was very uninspired.
Yeah, but as you said, the things in there were done correctly.
Yeah, but they did the things that you should do if you don't know exactly how to make stuff look interesting. So, in my opinion, it was actually pretty good. Even
It's done pretty well.
yeah.
It looked like old effect funk from 90s, so it worked there, and it works now. So people like shiny things and cool refractions. But it has no green color. It has every color, but no green. So
Well, mostly it's black and white, right? I mean, interestingly enough, we're still now at a place where 4K is where nothing has textures. This prod is like almost every single prod, there are no textures.
Yeah. Well, Elevated had textures.
Oh yeah, certainly. Elevated had textures several years ago, right? But still none of these 4Ks actually
True.
find space for it somehow.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Shall we do top threes? Of course we will. Heen, can I have your top 3 of the 4K intros, and you are
okay.
allowed to include your own entry if you want to.
If I exclude mine, I liked the last 3 entries. The last is more finished, so the last one looks more finished. But ninth, it's with jazzy sound and changing in the middle. I think it's most interesting for this compo. So you should decide.
Yeah, my favorites were the Digimine intros actually, and the last one, the unknown artists. So those were pretty good.
I think I find it very hard to actually find like my single favorite here. I think it's a close call between several ones. I like the Digimine one, the Beat in Motion, just because it's well done. It's different from all the other ones. I like my first intro, the dots morphing everywhere, just because of like sheer technical content. And I like the stupid air rally just because it doesn't succeed, but it really tries to do something to push the genre.
You're very positive today.
I also want to add that Digimine's and Silent intro looks also finished. So it's not like we tried to do something. It looks like we finished our intro. So
Yeah.
Which is not the case for the stupid air rally, right? Like we run out of space, we don't have an ending.
yes.
Yeah, so I agree that your release made the best impression, gave the best atmosphere, and looked overall polished. And then I have to say that my second favorite is actually the stupid air rally. Even though it's ugly, I kind of it touched my heart in the way that it was built. I mean, you could see that somebody really put a lot of effort into it. And then on third place, it's really hard to decide. It's either the Commander Berlin because I like Berlin noise, or it's the final one because it's just very, it's shiny. I don't want to, but I like shiny.
It's good to hear that I'm not alone in my addiction of shiny. So yeah, I'm going to follow you over there if you're asking for my 3 favorites. It is as the last one, Splash and the stupid air rally. But I think my first intro, it reminded me so much of the old. How many bobs can you put in an Amiga intro thingy that I just have to favorite this as an old Amiga guy. So for that. Okay, guys, I'd like to say thank you for joining here again. You are all invited for the next segment for the demo compo, of course. Yes. So you are very, very welcome. On that, as we mentioned, the demo compo segment, this will be the last compo studio then. So we have one more competition to go, and that's going to be it. So this was the 4K intro at Assembly 2014, the compo segment. Guys, thank you, and we'll have a pretty long demo competition. I have been told by a little Finnish birdie somewhere. So see you then.